Okay, so now if you will check back to Canvas, you'll see we just did step 8 of this project. We now are on step 9, which is to add a title. Okay, we need to add a title to each clip that labels the clips appropriately. For example, label the extreme wide shot as extreme wide shot, not EWS. The reason I want you to spell it out is I want to make sure that you actually know what the term is. If you don't know how to spell these, or you want to double check your spelling, because I will dock points for typos, or you don't remember what all the clips are called, refer back to mediacollege.com. I'll open that up so you guys can see it, but refer back to mediacollege.com for spelling and names of shots if you don't remember them. Again, it's at mediacollege.com under video, and on shots and framing you can see the examples of the different kinds of shots. We've just been focusing on these first 7 because those are the ones you'll use most often. Alright, so the first one's an extreme wide shot, so that's where we're going to start. So come back into Premiere. Little trick that I use a lot on a Mac is if you have a bunch of programs running, rather than doing this, rather than minimizing them every time to move them out of the way or closing them or whatever, a little trick that I do is I use Command and Tab. I hold down Command with my thumb and I push Tab with one of my fingers, and any program you have open will pop up, and every time you push Tab it will toggle to it. So if I'm in Safari and I want to get to Premiere, I just go Tab, 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 boom. Or down in Docs you can just click on whatever program you want to switch to, and it will jump to that program. You don't have to keep minimizing and moving your windows around. You can just click on the program and move it there, or I prefer to use Tab, and it just takes me there. Okay, so now adding titles. Titles in Premiere are a little bit more complicated than in iMovie, but you have more options as far as what you can customize. But you don't have as many like preset templates for titles as you do in Premiere, or you don't really have any at this point unless we buy some add-ons. Okay, so to add a new title, you go to File, New Title, or Command T is the shortcut. By the way, this little symbol next to the B and next to the T and next to the N, that little symbol means command. So anytime you see that, it's telling you what the keyboard shortcut is. So the keyboard shortcut for a new sequence is Command N. For a new bin, which we haven't used bins yet, is Command B. We're looking for title, so the shortcut would be Command T, or I go File, New Title. Okay, that's going to open up this title. You can set the width and things of what you want it to be. I wouldn't worry about that right now. You can just leave it to whatever it's at. And then I would name the title whatever you're making. So we're making our extreme wide shot. Now you'll notice I named this EWS. I didn't spell it out like I told you was a requirement. That's because this isn't what's actually going to show up on the video. This is just for me to know, okay, this is my extreme wide shot title, because it's creating like a little clip of this title. Anyways, you click OK. That's going to open up the title editor. For those of you that have ever used Photoshop, the title editor is very similar to Photoshop in what it can do. Now, obviously it can't do as much as Photoshop, but it's laid out similar to Photoshop. So the big T over here, that's the text tool. As long as that is selected and I click here, it'll pop up that cursor allowing me to type. Okay? So go ahead and just type out the name of your first title. It is a title, so capitalize all of the words. So extreme should be a capital E, wide should be a capital W, and so on. So write extreme wide shot since that's our first clip. Okay. Guys, if you're not on task, you will lose your computer privileges. It's hard to work in a class that uses computers if you don't have a computer. Okay, extreme wide shot, write it out. And then let me show you how you can change the font. Simply just highlight it just like a Word document. Highlight it, and then up here, Army is selected on mine. Just click that drop down and it will show you a bunch of different font types. Choose whatever you think looks cool. The only thing I'll grade you on is that there's no typos, that it's an actual lower third. Lower third means that it shows up in the bottom third of the screen, that it's in a title safe area, which I'll explain what that means, and that it's legible. So don't choose some color that's hard to read. Typically for lower thirds, you want them white or yellow because they're easy to read. Don't get all fancy and make it hard to read. Okay, so you can move it down here. You can choose whatever font. I'm a fan of blocky fonts for lower thirds because they're easier to read than, I always forget the term because I'm not a graphic designer, but I believe these are called serif fonts. Is that correct? Those of you that took graphics? The ones that have the little loop-de-loos on the top, I believe those are called serif fonts. I'm a fan of the blocky stuff like this because I think it's easier to read on videos. Anyways, but that's your lower third. You use the arrow to move it wherever you want it. Again, I said to capitalize all the words, which I didn't, so let me fix that because it's a title. Okay, extreme wide shot. You don't always need to center these. Sometimes you put them to the left justified, but I'm going to center these. Kind of the rule of thumb on this, I don't know if this is like a hard rule, but this is what I've observed in watching videos and films. If it's labeling a clip, they'll typically put it centered. Like if you pay attention to movies and it shows you where they're at, it says like 1975 because it's like a flashback, they'll typically put that right in the center. But if it's somebody's name, like a lower third labeling a person in an interview, then they'll usually left justify it. Okay? I won't grade you either way, just make sure it's in the lower third. Now when I say make sure it's in the title safe area, this inside box here, that's title safe. What that means, and this isn't as applicable nowadays because of flat screen TVs and computers and stuff, but it still is important to follow just to be safe. On certain screens and certain compressions and things, if you put this outside of this box, it will get cut off. So you've probably all watched the TV show at some point where like part of the title is cut off. That's because they didn't stay within the title safe area. That's what that inner box is for. The outer box is video safe area. You don't need to worry about that as much, but if something's important to your video, that it's crucial that it be seen, when filming, you want to make sure that it's inside that box. Okay? So make sure it's inside your title safe area. You can get fancier than that if you want, but I don't care if you do. And close your title window. Okay. You'll notice now in the project bin that there's an actual clip that's your extreme wide shot. Okay, it made a little video file of your extreme wide shot, and you can see it's 5 seconds long. If you double click that, it will open up the editor again. So if you need to make changes, that's how you do it. If you don't need to make changes, you don't need to open that. Now to add that to our clip, all we're going to do is click it from the project bin and drag it to the video 2 track in the timeline. Video 2 is just above our 1. If you put it right on top of it, it's going to erase it. Okay? So I just erased my clip because I put the title on top of it. So don't do that. Don't put it on the same track. Again, Command Z is your undo. Command Z undoes my mistake. Okay? Click your title and drag it to the V2 track, which is the track above it. You really can drag it to anyone, but you don't want to get too spread out or it gets all confusing. Okay? And I ask you to put it just after your transition ends. so that your title will start after you've already faded in. Okay? Let me zoom in. By the way, if you ever need to zoom in, the shortcut is Z. Or in your tools here, there's a magnifying glass. But Z makes a little magnifying glass, and you click on your timeline, and it will zoom in. If you ever need to zoom out, just be on the magnifying glass and hold down Option. Notice when I hold Option, it changes the plus on my magnifying glass to a minus. That'll zoom me back out. Okay, the reason I'm zooming in is so I can just see closer what's going on. So if I look at my sequence, my clip fades in. Right after it fades in, that's where I want my title to show up. I don't want my title to show up on top of the fade in, because then it will say extreme wide shot before you even see the extreme wide shot. So put your title just after the fade in. Click and drag it right there. Okay. I would like your titles, not like, for full credit, they need to be at least 3 seconds long, okay? So I'm trying to see how long my title is. How do you tell how long your title is? Say what? Is that my duration right there? No, that's where I'm at in the video. Well, I mean, I know how you can tell. It starts at 1 second basically, and it ends at almost 5 seconds. So yes, that one's over 3 seconds. So by default, they'll be over 3 seconds. So just don't make them too short, because if it's too short, then you can't read it. What I usually do when I'm making titles is I read them through. I push play and I read them twice. If I can read it 2 times, then I figure it's on there long enough for people to read. So extreme wide shot, extreme wide shot. Okay, that's on there long enough for people to read. Without getting into too much detail about titles, notice how mine's hard to read. Mine's white and this floor is kind of white. If you can't read yours, change the color. I'm going to change mine to a yellow. Because over here on the right, when you're in your title editor, you'll see color. You click on that, and then you can select whatever color you want. I'm going to do a yellow because I think it'll be more legible on this floor. And it's a little bit more legible. Okay. There's other things I could do if I needed to add shadows and stuff, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so there's my extreme wide shot title. One last thing you want to do on this title is you want it to fade in and out just like your videos do, just because it will look more professional. Okay, so you do that the same way we added the fade in and fade out on our transitions or on our clips. You go to Effects, Video Transitions, Dissolves, grab the cross dissolve, click and drag it to the start of your title. Then scroll over to the end of your title and drag and put a cross dissolve at the end. Now these ones are going to be kind of long for how short the title is. You may want to make them just half a second or 15 frames. You do that by double clicking the cross dissolve. Type 1.5 because there's 30 frames a second. Now if I play my video, fades in the title, extreme wide shot, fades out the title, and then transitions to the next clip. Okay? So that is how you add a title. That one's done. Now you do that for every one and label them correctly, but I'm going to show you guys a shortcut to make this faster for you. Let's suppose that you spend a bunch of time tweaking this title, customizing it, adding shadows, adding color, however you wanted it to look, and you want every title to look the same. Typically in a video, anytime you have a lower third, you want it to look the same. You want to follow a theme. So I won't dock you if each one looks different this time. That's fine for this project. But if you want to save time and not have to adjust all the settings on every single title, what you do is close this down, go to your project bin, and select this clip that you made, this title that you made. Right-click it and choose, there should be a duplicate option. Choose duplicate. Okay, that will create another clip. Mine's called EWS copy. Okay, I'm going to change this to be my very wide shot, or VWS. Then all I have to do for this next one is open it up, change the word to very wide shot instead of extreme wide shot, because that's my next clip. Don't be thrown off that these are on top of each other. Let me show you why that is. This previews wherever my playhead is at in my timeline. Notice my timeline's on top of the other title. That's why it's showing up. What I should probably do is move it down to the next clip. Move my playhead down to the next clip. And then when I'm working on my title, I can see it over the clip it actually goes to. Okay, so I change that to very wide shot. Center it up. Make sure it's title safe. Awesome, I like it. Close it out. Now I just click and drag this one to my video 2 track. I'm going to add a fade in or a cross dissolve at the start of my title and a cross dissolve at the end of my title. And I now have my very wide shot there. And you'll notice now it looks exactly the same as the last one, but I didn't have to spend the time. I didn't have to spend the time adjusting it because I just duplicated it. So there's my second one. If I'm ready for my third one, I would just do the same thing. I'd duplicate one of my other titles by selecting it in the project bin, right-click it, choose the duplicate option. It's going to make a copy of that one. I'm now on to my wide shot, so that's what I'll name it. Open it up. Get my type tool. Change this to say wide shot. Right here. Then that one's ready to go. Close it. Put it in my timeline. Again, just after the transition from the last clip. Throw a cross dissolve from the effects tab on the front of that title and on the end. And there's my wide shot. That one's done. So you guys get the idea now. You need to go through and do all 7. I'll go ahead and do them with you just for the sake of practice. So we're now on to the mid shot. Mid shot or medium shot, both are correct. MediaCollege.com calls it a mid shot. Okay, or they're both correct in my book. I could be wrong. All right, so we make our duplicate of the title, call it MS for mid shot. Make sure you're saving, by the way. Command S is the shortcut. Go ahead and save right now if you haven't for a while. All right, we name this one our mid shot. MID shot. Move it so it's centered. That one's ready to go. Close it. And throw it on video V2 right after the transition on top of my mid shot. Go to my effects, grab a cross dissolve. Again, those are under effects. And then video transitions, put one at the start and end of the transition. 4 down, 3 to go. Now you might be thinking, why don't I just copy and paste this right here in the timeline? You could do that if it was going to stay the exact same. But if I copy and paste this, Command C, Command V, it has to be the same words, because if I edit it, it will change the words on the other one. and don't accidentally paste them on top of your video like I just did. So anyways, what we do is we go back to our bin, we duplicate again one of our titles, right click, then duplicate. I'm now on to my medium close-up, so I'll name it MCU. We need our text tool, and we need to say medium close-up. You can say medium close-up, or you can say medium close-up shot. Either way will be correct. I forget if close-up's supposed to have a hyphen. What do they do? They do not have a hyphen. Okay, medium close-up. Again, use your arrow tool. Make sure you're inside the title safe area, which is the inner box. Now I'm ready to go. Put my medium close-up title up on the timeline. On V2. Then I add my fade in or my cross dissolve at the start and my fade out at the end of that clip or of that title. Now I got 2 more to go. Back to my project window. We're now on to the close-up. I right click one of my titles and I choose duplicate to make a copy of it. Change that name to close-up or CU. Double click it to open it up. I've already got medium close-up here, so all I got to do is delete medium. Use my arrow tool to move it where I want it in the center and inside the title safe. This title is now ready to go. I close it. Then I click and drag the title onto video 2 above my close-up shot. Go to effects, grab my cross dissolve, put it at the start of the title. Grab my cross dissolve, put it at the end of the title. And now I'm on to my last clip, which is my extreme close-up. So I go back to, I get my playhead or my cursor in my timeline right above my extreme close-up. Then I come back over to my project tab, right click one of my titles, choose duplicate. That'll make a copy. Name this one extreme close-up because that's the one my last one. Double click it to open it. Click my title tool. I've already got close-up written, so all I need to do is type extreme. Add a space. Use my arrow tool to move this title around. Line it up in the center, inside the title safe. The extreme close-up's now ready to go. Now one thing I want to point out, you may want to think about doing this. I won't dock if you don't. But if this is kind of like covering your face, maybe on this shot I may want to put my title up at the top. Potentially. Okay? Not required to, but if you think it looks better, feel free to do that. And then I wait for the bell. Then I've got my last title ready to go. I click and drag it onto video 2. Add my fade in and my fade out to that title. And I'm now done. So I push Command Save. So you now are ready to go on to the next step. We're not going to have time to finish that today, so I'll extend the project to next time.